Hey beautiful people, welcome to another live Consciously Connected with Mystic Tira.
Hey beautiful people, it's your girl Shakima. I am just stopping in for today's weekly guidance. I'm waiting for Mystic Tira to get into the room and we can go ahead and get live. Hello, beautiful. Thank you for stopping into the room. Just waiting for Mystic Tira so that we can do a live weekly guidance. Give you guys some insight into what the week ahead has in store energetically. We'll be doing a reading for the collective consciousness, or I will be doing a reading for the collective. And Miss Victoria, once she sort of gets into the room, will be able to do. She is live in the building, so she will then be able to do the reading. So should be good insight for us, guys. I'm actually going to set the space. Hello, beautiful.
Hello. How are you, darling?
I am doing well. I'm just setting the space. If you want to sort of introduce yourself to the people, let them know a little bit about you and what you do, and what we'll be doing tonight in your part.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mystic Tira. I'm a spiritual coach, a well-being mentor. I run a wellness clinic in the whole old world, but now in the new world, I am a messenger. I do a lot of stuff. I do spiritual coaching. I meditate with a lot of people. I teach people how to look within. But tonight, I'm going to be doing some tarot card reading. We're going to be contacting the oracle and seeing what they have for us, right? And it's lovely to be on your forum, conscious, connected. You're always connecting us. I'm glad to be here. Thank you. And thank you all for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you. Divine introduction there. Thank you for all of that. I guess it'll be interesting to see what this week has in store for us, because last week was definitely it was insightful. So going into this week, it'll be good for us to be able to get some guidance, get some insight of what sort of energy we're working with. So the way that I'll be doing my spread, I'll just be looking to see sort of where we are as a collective consciousness, what path we're crossing, see if I can make any sort of recommendations or guidance in that regards, and what's going on in the subconscious mind, as well as how we are projecting that externally from the conscious mind.
Right.
And also we'll be able to have a look at the outcome of everything once this week is said and done, just to give us some insight into how to work with the energies.
Good. I'm just going to sort out my lightning. I'll be right back.
All good, beautiful. All good. Take your time. So I'm just going to go and get straight into it. So what I'm seeing is that coming into this week, there's been a lot of sharp communication, a lot of cold sort of communication. People may not have necessarily been speaking from a place of intent. That's probably the best way that I can put it. People will probably have said things that they may not have meant, but there's an imbalance in the way that they're sort of communicating. Collectively, there's an imbalance in the way that we've been communicating our feminine aspect of ourselves, to be fair. Our ability to be able to intuitively connect to information, how we're sort of connecting, expressing our emotions has definitely been challenging, sort of coming into this week. Some of the things that we're sort of dealing with sort of in the energy of the week overall, it's almost like there's definitely an imbalance in our home situations. For a lot of us, we're probably sort of dealing with broken home sort of situations where everybody isn't as close. Admittedly, that's a given considering what's sort of going on in the world. But outside of that, there's a lot of emotional turmoil that's going on beneath the surface. It's not just because of the circumstances being what they are. I think that for some of us, we're experiencing situations where our extended family, even in situations we're not as close as we would like to be emotionally, as far as the connection there. So those are some of the things that we're probably going to really be dealing with, addressing, or it may be highlighted for us this week. Just to sort of give you guys an insight into what I'm speaking about, because they're sort of saying to me it's a case of going deeper within it. When we're sort of like triggered to be a little bit sharp, not think before we speak type thing, we kind of have to take a minute to identify where is that coming from. Is that really what I want to communicate in this moment? You're kind of falling into a misalignment of your values. So you have to kind of be aware of the intent and keep that at the forefront of your focus, especially when you're communicating your emotions to people, because sometimes when we get lost in our emotions, when we're overwhelmed by emotions, in fact, it's very difficult for us to be able to say, hey, this is how I'm feeling at the minute, and this is where you could potentially be most useful to me. So those are certain things that we're kind of learning, I guess, at the minute. And it's good for us to be able to, I guess, navigate our way through it, because moving forward, we'll be able to see that there is a happy ending. We can actually move beyond the barriers of our anxiety, the barriers of our fears. We're actually going to be dealing with, it seems like moving forward, we'll be sort of dealing with a little bit more of an emotional balance with our situation. So it's definitely going to be an interesting week. So where are we for this week, the week of the 27th of April, Spirit? And what path do we cross? Okay. So, okay. We're kind of being a little bit reckless, or at least we have been a little bit reckless. We're kind of, it seems like instead of being spontaneous about certain things, we may not have necessarily weighed up all the pros and cons to situations, and we've kind of maybe acted hastily in terms of things that really needed to be respondatory as opposed to reactionary. I'm seeing that we're sort of at a place where we're sort of looking at the long-term vision of the situation. Now we've kind of come from that place of recklessness. Hey, beautiful people, thank you for stopping into the room. So we've come from that state of recklessness, and this is a major arcana for us because we've got the full sort of in reverse. So it's just really speaking about trying not to be too naive in the way that we're sort of navigating the material world, in the way that we are acting as well. Be mindful of the way that we're acting because it's representing the way that we're coming across. And again, a lot of the things that we're sort of going to be dealing with is bruised egos. Okay, so there's going to be situations where we're going to feel like my ego is wounded. That's triggered something inside of myself. I may need to go deeper inside of that to actually understand how I can retrieve a conscious awareness. Because I'm seeing that this bruised ego situations that we'll be sort of navigating through this week, it's actually going to give us an opportunity to regain spiritual recovery as well as financial recovery for some people. Because I said to you that we were being reckless in terms of how we were navigating the material world, and that's literally kind of what the rewards, I guess, of this is alluding to as well. It can actually bring greater successes once we're able to get a little bit more awareness. It's almost like the best way that I can put it, we kind of have to fall so that we can understand our strengths moving forward. And it's just interesting because the way that they're giving it to me, it's almost like they're saying that this is the best way. And oftentimes when they say that this is the best way, it often has a tendency to bruise our ego. So it's probably going to be something very challenging for you to sort of communicate in terms of your actions. This is all very sort of action based from what I can see. It's a case of, I'd say the undertone of this test or challenge that we're going through this week is learning how to align our actions with our emotions, with our intent. So even if we have the first urge of the emotion is to, how can I put it? We sort of have, sometimes we have these respondatory measures where it's like when we're yearning for affection and we crave sweets. Do we want to take that extra sort of sweet? It's all those sort of little decisions that we're sort of going through this week to understand how we can make better decisions in other areas of our lives. So it's this is the best way that I can put it as well, because they're even going deeper with me. This is almost a covert challenge for us. It's almost like covert observation for us in terms of the way that we'll be learning effectively how to navigate through our recklessness, our carefree nature. Sometimes, you know, when we're sort of dealing with emotions, we can get a little bit lost in it all. So Spirit's really going to be teaching us how to be a little bit more grounded in it. So we're going to be humbled, for lack of a better way of putting it, for this week. It's going to be an interesting ride. So in the subconscious mind, what we are dealing with is transformation. So this is something that Spirit is saying is necessary for us as we sort of move forward. We're learning how to transform our scattered thoughts, which are showing up as scattered communication. And we're actually learning how to be a little bit more clear. It's interesting because some of the places that we may get wounded in terms of bruised egos is relationships that have some sort of codependent nature. So in these dynamics, one automatically thinks romantically, but also there are parent-sibling relationships, parent-child relationships that are sort of taking place, sibling relationships that are taking place. There's a whole aspect of elements where we are learning how to transform our relationships in the way that we're communicating. And this is intentional on Spirit's part. From what I can see, we're moving away from lack consciousness so that we can get a better understanding of what it is that we want to create. Because it's almost like Spirit saying that we've tried this, right? Just to sort of show you guys the cards. So we've got Five of Pentacles, Knight of Swords in reverse, and the Nine of Wands. Spirit's almost saying that we know that looking at things from a negative perspective already leads to the nine of swords. We already know that leads to anxiety. We know that leads to depression. What we want to do is actually learn how to be a little bit more stable in our communication. We want to learn how to be a little bit more stable in our ability to materialize and be a little bit more free flowing in the transformational process of everything. So whatever we have been rigid with, spirit is almost going to test us to see beyond whatever it is that we think is the absolute perfect outcome of the situation. So it's not too bad. Definitely a big lesson for us. What's in the conscious mind for us as we navigate through the week? Okay, so conscious mind, guys. Okay, definitely highlighting the challenge of grounding ourselves as we're sort of navigating through independence. What do I mean by that? So we're kind of learning the balance of being self-full as opposed to selfish. And I spoke to you last week about one of the challenges that we were going to be going through was people's nature to be a little bit self-involved and how that may show up in the world. And it seems as though this week the challenge almost for us is to focus on our intent. It's almost like they're giving it to me. Know the masters that we are. That's the best way that they're putting it. I can even go deeper. They're almost like know the magician that you are. Know the element of alchemy and how you have the aspect to be able to transform and shapeshift almost your circumstances. What is simply it's almost like they're sort of saying it's a conduit for the actions that you've actually been taking so far. So this week, we're going to be focusing on our actions. Last week, we were focusing on trying to navigate through selfish tendencies. We've learned a lot for some of us. So this week, we're going to be humbled. We're going to be broken down. Our ego is going to be broken apart so that we can actually be restored in figuring out different ways to approach situations, different ways to go about communicating. Because a lot of the times, you know, what we say isn't necessarily how people pick us up because our filters are based on our journey and everybody's journey is so amazingly unique and different. So I think that spirit's almost trying to say, do differently. You want it, do something different. And for those of us that have continued to be at loggerheads with people that we consider to be near and dear to us, loved ones, and we're kind of at that place where things may seem hopeless in terms of being able to keep true to your identity as well as, you know, integrate the traditional viewpoint of society, you know, where you need to be, what you're sort of asked to show up as, how you fit into those filters. And also just even in relationships, how people's filters of what they believe society requires of them and how that formulates their perspective of how you need to show up in their experiences. Those are some of the things that we're going to really be learning how to fine tune a little bit. And it seems as though we'll sort of come out with it with a fresh way of doing things. Last week we were working on new perspectives. Now we're learning how to do things differently because first mind over matter, right? So our mind has to first be willing to change its existence, and now we get to learn how to materialize. It's interesting because we've got at the bottom of the deck, we've got the Empress. So it's everything here. Again, we've got all major arcanas and every single avenue of the transit of this week. So this is a big wave, to say the least. It's going to be an amazing week, but it comes with its challenges, is what I'd say. Because even as I said that, I could feel my ego already just drowning in just trauma, you know. And that's the beauty of it. If we can just take an opportunity to see what's sort of coming up and showing up, we then get the opportunity to be back in the element of the driver's wheel. Is probably the best way that I can put it. Captain of the ship is how they're putting it across to me. So let's see what's in the outcome for us, Spirit. Okay, so in the outcome, again, literally just as I've said to you, we are going to be learning how to do things differently, more from a place where we're not taking on too much, where we are now delegating, where we are now attracting by the way of our intentions meeting our actions. And it's just natural for the energy to flow where it may with that kind of alignment. And I think moving forward, from what I can see as well, we're not quite accomplished in what we're doing just yet, but we're definitely one step closer, is what I'm seeing. It's almost like a new way of being able to do things. And we're realizing that it's going to help us with our tendency to be a little bit disorganized from time to time. It's definitely going to help us to learn how to be resourceful in those times, in those moments where it feels like poor planning as well, because we're learning how to balance our creativity. We're learning how to balance all of this fertility, this ability to create. So yeah, we're learning how to just do things in a different way that's going to create different outcomes. And it's going to be beautiful from what I can see. Challenging, but beautiful. And that's pretty much it for me. So, yeah, thank you guys for that.
Well done. That was beautiful.
No, thank you guys for just lending a hand to the space. Definitely. It'll be interesting to see what's going on with divine masculine and divine feminine, considering we're going to be going through such a week fueled with ego charged emotions. So,
Yes. Well,
yeah.
before I start the reading, I would like to
Mm,
welcome everybody in the space. Welcome, welcome. And just to clarify that when we say divine masculine and divine
mm,
feminine, we would like to embody those masculine who also have feminine energy and vice
mm,
versa. So
mhm,
if you're feminine with masculine energy, just make sure just switch it round in this reading. So we're all
mm,
welcome. Energy is energy. Okay.
mm,
So today we're going to look at what is the energy for the divine masculine and divine feminine. And before I thought I have this new cards. They're little tablets and they're people's name. So two came out, and so this could be anybody there with a name beginning with a K or a D. Okay,
okay. Mm-hmm.
so we start from there. A K or a D.
Mm,
This could be especially the reading talking directly for you, even though
mm,
this is a general reading, but we
mm.
start with those numbers and those words. I don't know. Do you know anybody with a K?
I'm so in awe because my middle name is Donna K. So I'm like, okay, I shall sit and take notes.
This is for us. And honestly,
I
and
appreciate
who
it
else
as
is
well.
K? Moi. And somebody
Ah,
that honestly, I love the way
this
the
is
spirits
beautiful.
talks. So even though
Absolutely.
when we as you know yourself, you're giving out
Hmm.
advice, some of those advice
Yeah,
is for ourselves, right?
absolutely,
So
absolutely,
let's dive
definitely.
in and let's see what is
Mm.
first of all I want to look at let me see my note. What is the feeling? What is the divine masculine and divine feminine feeling at this time? So
Mm.
I've chosen to do the soul journey cards because we are all on a journey.
Beautiful.
So I want to ask a question from the divine universe as to the
Mm.
what is the divine feminine? What is she feeling at this time? What is all the divine in the collective feeling at this time? Calabar spirit, show me, spirit, show me. Thank you. Thank you for bringing us here. Whoops. So one card came out for the divine feminine, and
Mm.
that card is pride. Interesting. Interesting. Now let's go quickly and look at what the masculine energy is feeling at this time. Interesting to know
Mhm.
that the collected feminine energy is in pride.
Yeah.
From what I'm getting from that card is that a lot of feminine have stepped into their power, and they're feeling
Yeah.
really proud of that.
Mm.
Now, one card came out for the masculine, and that card is fear.
Okay.
Okay, so um, yeah, let's go ahead and I want to quickly choose all the cards, and then we can talk about it. How is that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, beautiful.
So the next question I have is,
Yeah.
what are they thinking? So that first one was, what is the divine masculine and feminine feelings? Now we're going to look at what are they thinking? What is the thinking?
Yeah.
For that, I have
Mm.
chosen to use the life purpose, because everybody's on a life purpose, on a journey. And so
Mm.
as masculine energy, they have different journey. And feminine energy, we have different journey. So let's go have a look. What is the feminine thinking about this pride? Because the card she got is about pride, right? Let's have a look. What's she thinking? What is the feminine thinking, spirit? Show me. This is the life purpose oracle. So they're on their journey. On their
Mm.
journey, the feminine is proud to be on it. On their journey, the masculine seems a bit afraid. It's got fear.
Mm. Mm.
So let's go see what is she thinking? One card came out. Wow. For the feminine came out. Leadership.
Mm.
No wonder
Yeah.
she's got pride, huh?
Mm.
Okay, spirit, show me. What is the masculine energy? What is the masculine energy thinking? Why is the masculine energy in fear? Spirit, show me. Show me, spirit. Come on. We got, whoops, one came out. support.
Okay.
Okay.
That's beautiful. Beautiful.
Oracle cards, because they speak. What is the feminine saying to the masculine? Let's have a look. Quick shuffle. What is she saying to the masculine spirit? What does she have to say? What does the feminine has to say, spirit? Oh, she's saying lot. Okay, she's saying a lot. 3 cards came out. We got time? Okay, we
Go
got
for
time.
it. Yeah,
Yes.
go for it. Yeah.
Okay, so what is the masculine saying? For the feminine, let me quickly show you what she's saying. The feminine is saying, I want rebirth. The feminine is on a journey of leadership earlier on. So she is got ancient wisdom. She is perhaps practicing to be a shaman, or maybe just doing some spiritual practice. This is what the feminine is saying where she's at. And she's also saying blessings. She's got the blessings, and she can bring that into this union here. Okay, let's see what the masculine is saying, shall we? What is the masculine energy saying, spirit? Okay, we got 1 card, 2 more cards, spirit. Show me. Whoa, that one came flying. Okay, give me 1 more, spirit. They're having serious conversation here. It's all very beautiful. Right, what is the masculine energy saying, spirit? 1 card, spirit, give me 1 card. A whole lot just came flying, too many, so bear with me, guys. Okay, wow, we got it. Right. So for the masculine, the first card that came out was compassion. He's saying that he's finding compassion. He's got love in his heart, and he's wanting to share that compassion with his feminine. And if you're not in union with your masculine or your feminine, this is what the other person would want, the person in your life. This is what they're saying. Okay, and the next one that came out was effortless. So it's got waterfall here for what he's saying. What I'm getting is like he would really like to say a lot, but most of feminine and masculine out there might not be able to find the words. And although they would want it to flow like waterfall, to come out effortlessly, but then they're having difficulty in that right now. That's what they would like to say to the feminine, or vice versa. And what else is he saying? He's saying that perhaps his feelings is like that of he's have a lot of feelings like right now, like the ocean, and it's a lot of ebbs and flow, and he's learning to ride the waves, and it's really, really difficult for some of the masculine to express themselves. But this is what he's saying now, that he's going through the ebbs and flow, and even if it's to do with love, and things might dry up and then run again, and that his love for you is always flowing. There might be some ebbs and flow in this relationship, but on the whole, his love is as big as the ocean. Okay, so that is what the masculine is saying. Now, quickly, let's just go back and see what was he thinking. So the masculine was thinking about support. He wants to provide the support, or otherwise he might need the support from you. So that's what that's what they're thinking. They're thinking, how can I support my feminine? How can I be more? And this is what the masculine is thinking. How can I support? How can I be that backbone that I'm meant to be? How can I be the defender, the provider, and bring support? That's what the masculine is thinking. For the feminine now, we got this card, and the feminine's card is about leadership.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of feminine right now in the world, they're thinking, how can they become leaders in their field? How can they create something where it can benefit not only themselves but other people? How can they lead people forward in whatever area of their life? This is what the feminine are mostly feeling right now. This is the energy of the feminine. Leadership. This is really beautiful. And what were they feeling? For the feminine, she was feeling pride. And there's an affirmation with this card. It says, I love myself. I see myself in everyone. So this is what the feminine is feeling. She's seeing herself in everyone, loving herself and knowing, say, I am because you are. This is the pride the feminine have now.
Yeah.
And for the masculine, for our masculine, those who, like I said earlier on, is either way. We have women who have masculine energy. Take it as it resonates. But some of our masculine, not all, some are in a place of fear. Yeah, they're feeling a lot of fear right now. And that fear could be coming from a lot of things. We're all going through a lot right now in this lockdown. But mostly for the masculine, who are the provider. They're seen as the provider. There's a lot of pressure on our masculines right now. And some of them might not even know how to handle it. And the only way they can project it out would be the fear. And so therefore, the next card that we have, because this is what they're feeling. The next card that we have, this is what they're thinking. So they're thinking as well, where are they going to get that support to come out of fear? You see? Where are they going to get? Are they getting it from their feminine? Are they getting it from their community? Where are they getting it from? And this is what they need right now to come out of fear. They need the support. Right. So that's all very nice, isn't it? We're in a good place. Right. Now let's see the outcome for the masculine and the feminine energy. What is the outcome for this week for both of them? For that, my dear, I decided to use the angels' oracles because you know how we are spiritual. We always have to call upon the angels then, even when we see what's going to happen and we know we have to find out how we're going to go about it, don't we?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because the clearer you can see, the better you can know how to navigate this ocean here.
Absolutely.
So let's go find out what is Spirit. Show me what is the outcome. I'm going to choose two cards because these are separate energies. I think I should choose one outcome for the feminine, where she's there with her pride and her leadership, and she's rebirthing things, and she's a shaman. She's doing healing and all of that for the feminine and blessing. Let's see what the oracle, the spirit, have to give her some message for that. Yes, and how she's gonna go on that way. Tell me, Spirit, Claire. Wow. For the feminine, the message for the feminines are giving and receiving. So here you have it. Ladies and gentlemen, let's do a lot more giving and receiving. Now, let me just choose one card for the masculine, and then I can read out the messages for both masculine and feminine. Shall we? Masculine. Spirit, show me what is the overall outcome for the masculine soul journey. Whoa. Did you see that fly out? Yeah. Whoa, guys. This is amazing. Some of you guys are tying the knots. I've got wedding in the house. So who is tying it? Congratulations. This is the outcome. Remember, this is a whole story here, right? This is a whole story. For the feminine, we need the masculine energy to balance. One can't stand by itself. We both need both. So we need each other. So okay, stop. Let me read the message for the feminine. Giving and receiving. Okay, it says, The entire universe operates in a circle similar to your inhalation and exhalation. When you only exhale, that means give, or you only inhale, that means receive, you become out of rhythm with the universe. For optimal health, energy, and replenishment, balance each inhalation in your life with an exhalation. How beautiful is that?
Expressively beautiful.
So what I'm getting from this is that feminine, we need to give more to our masculine. Whether some of us, some of us have issues in relationship whereby we're now blocking our masculine, we're gaslighting them, we're not talking to them, not calling them to find out how they're doing, especially in this time. I know, yeah, feminine energy can be really mean. I know, because when you piss off a feminine, boy, you piss off the whole tribe. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is that, sisters, let's calm down, goddesses, right?
Yeah.
They still need our love. Remember, they're in fear. So we need to give a bit. We need to give to the brothers then. Not too much.
Yeah.
Without losing yourself or your power, but give and support and love and compassion. Compassion for where they find themselves. Compassion and love and forgiveness. It all comes hand in hand. So that is the message from the Oracle Angels to you, all divine feminines out there. Yes? Give so that you can receive. Okay. Now, let's go to the masculine. The masculines got the card wedding. Oh my God. Now, listen, this is super. I am loving this. Okay, so let's go to the story, right? Remember what the masculine was feeling. He was feeling fear, right? That's what he was feeling. And what was he thinking? He was thinking he needs support.
Yeah.
So there is nothing. I mean, then what is he saying? He's saying love, and he's saying effortless. He would like his love to be effortless, right? He wants it to be like waterfall, running down, and he wants compassion. He's bringing it too. Okay. Now, what else is he saying? The masculine energy is saying, yeah, everything run on the ebb and flow. That's how life is. Nothing is roses. Nothing is, look where we find ourselves. So therefore, what I take this card to mean is that, especially when I see support, I see support here, and I see love. This is marriage. This, what we have here is divine union. Whoever this number, I started with a K and a D, initial K and initial D. Marriage is coming in the next few months. Before the end of this year, you are going to be making plans for your marriage. Because the divine masculines are waking up. They have been in fear. Now they want support and love. And that equals wedding. Equals wedding. For a masculine to step up and say, I'm ready. It takes a lot of, you know what I mean? It takes a lot of guts and what do they call them thing there? So let me read what the cards say to you. Let me read what the cards say to you. The card says, marriage is the union of two souls joined in love, mutual respect, and commitment.
Yeah.
It signifies a desire to deepen love over time. You hear that? Your wedding day is a testimony to your well-founded faith in love's power. Continually breathe life into first one. Let me read that again. Continuously breathe live into that faith and love. Dearest Lord.
Beautiful.
So there you have it, guys. That is the end of the reading. I hope it resonates with one or two of you. Whoever it resonates with, I am glad. Take whatever lessons, what resonates with you, and work with it. Work on your relationship. Give more. Give a little. Be open to love, because that's all we got. The only currency we got here is love, really. And if you run out of it, make sure you bang some more, because you can never run out. So much love. Love you lots.
Absolutely.
And it's so nice to be here. Conscious Connection.
Awesome. No, awesome. That was beautiful. I honestly,
Does
yeah, no, that was
anybody
a beautiful.
resonate with you?
All of it resonated with me. I felt like it was a beautiful expression of everything. I felt like literally when you pulled the two cards out and I saw the initials, I was like, okay, this I definitely need to sit and take notes. And that's what it felt like. It felt like sitting, taking notes and having more of an understanding to be able to just kind of navigate through all of the aspects, I guess, that makes the situation. That was beautiful. I loved it.
Come
Yeah.
through. Bless. I love it too. I just like you said, I see some of myself in this message. Come through.
Mm,
Yeah. I see some of myself in these
yeah.
messages, and it's so amazing that Spirit talks to us through this through this
Hmm.
format, and that a lot of people can just listen, and it would make
Yeah.
our journey easier if we can understand each other's better, each other's energy. We really need to understand where the feminine are and where the masculine are in order for us to
Yeah.
make this place a better place.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was beautifully put. I'm gonna just do a final pull to close out the space, a message from the universe for the collective to close out the space. Well, we won't be taking all of that information. I literally just had all the cards, but
But
half
let's,
the deck
if
really.
anybody
So.
would like me to dive into their own personal situation, whether it's love issue or work or just personal development, you want to look into your future, you want to know what's happening with you. I do personal reading, I do relationship, but most of all, I do relationship. It's my favorite one. So if you want to dive into it, really did, contact me, DM me, and let's get together. Let's find out what's really happened in the Akashic records of your life. Okay, over to you.
Beautifully said. No, thank you for that. Beautifully said. It's interesting because the cards kept just doing their own thing, but this card was definitely, even when it just did its own thing before I even asked the question, it's almost like spirit was just raring to go, you know. But the undertone, I guess, of this week is that happiness is our birthright. You know, we can choose to actually look and handle the situation from the vibration of
Yeah,
happiness, because happiness is more of a decision. I think people feel like once I get to here I'll be happy, and they're confusing a emotion, which is a state of being, with a goal. And happiness isn't a goal, it's a destination. It's an emotional experience. So if the goal is to be happy, it's always almost going to continue to be something that is almost out of reach.
yeah,
Whereas if you can embody the vibration of happiness, there will simply be more for you to be happy about. We've got some guidance from the universe in order to be able to achieve this happiness. Okay. Um, the recommendation to us is to surrender to a greater power than ourselves, and know that by doing that, we still get the opportunity to honor how we feel. By surrendering to the universe, it doesn't mean that you are in any less of a control. It simply means that you are now in flow with the energies. And it's interesting because one of the things that I'm seeing is that it may take us to dark places, by being able to surrender. But the beauty of that is that you're able to have more of an understanding and honor how you feel throughout the process of it. The universe, I'm just going to read this card to you guys. I witness the darkness and call on the light with my prayer. Thank you, universe, for guiding me to perceive this fear through the eyes of the teacher of love. And again, it just goes hand in hand with literally what, beautiful Mystic Tira has just sort of put across in terms of divine masculine navigating through fear and needing our love and support at this time to assist them. So we can choose to be in that happy. It's a choice. That's what I'd say. Any parting message for divine masculine and feminine? Beautiful.
Well, yes, let's see. Whoops, let me take up. Actually, I do have a card.
Yeah.
Just bear with me, bear with me.
No, beautiful.
Okay, so I want to call upon the spirit guides from the unicorn.
Love
Unicorn
that.
angels. Oh, right. So this is the oracle cards. They're called unicorn oracle cards from Diane Cooper. They're really accurate because they're called the spirit messages. So let's see what the message. You can't make this up. You cannot make this up. Can you see it?
What does it say?
The Christ.
Beautiful.
The Christ.
Beautiful.
And down there it says, open the door to the kingdom of heaven.
That's beautiful.
Can't make it up. Can't make this. None of this is made up. The cards were shuffled in front of you. When spirit talks, spirit talks. You know, when you're consciously connected, spirit talks through you. You can't get it wrong. You can't make it up. Look at that. So what is it? What are we saying? What is the message now? Is to open the door to the kingdom of heaven. Now, where is the kingdom of heaven? Where is your heart? Where is it? Yeah. Open your heart. Be light.
Yeah.
Love and light. That's what we need around now. So that is my message for you from the spirit. Take that into the week, everybody. And this, isn't it great that we're now at the time of resurrection, where Jesus Christ just came alive? And look, for those who are Christian, I am multi-faith. So I really don't judge any faith. But listen, look at that. Wake up. This is the time to open your heart, to go into, even if you're Muslim, take the message. If you're Buddhist, apply it. Open up your heavens.
Yes.
Namaste, everybody. Have a great evening.
Beautifully put. Thank you guys for stopping into this day.
I look forward to seeing you soon.
Absolutely beautiful.
I am
We will
bubbling
catch you
with
guys
this energy. I'm
next week. Beautifully put. I enjoyed every moment of that.
Thank you.
That's all, folks. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell for more.